Institute is so thrilled to present a panel on the hit television series Reservation Dogs with creator Sterling Harjo and stars Devery Jacobs and Defera Wunatai. This conversation will dive into the creation of the hit television series, discussing the importance of Indigenous people telling Indigenous stories, Indigenous humor, community, and so much more. We're so excited for season 2. Miigwech. Thank you to our speakers for sharing their time today, and thank you to our lead Institute partner Netflix, Institute partner Crave, as well as Ontario Create.
Good day. My name is Jamie Reardon. I'm the lead Institute coordinator at imagineNATIVE. I'm Ojibwe and Irish from Flying Post First Nations in Treaty 9 territory. Today we are joined, Sterling's going to be joining us. Oh, there he is. Perfect.
Yeah. What happens when you forget to tell your assistant that you have a Zoom?
Well, I said your name and you appeared, so that was some magic right there.
Yeah, there you go.
We're joined today with one of the creators and two of the lead actors from Reservation Dogs. So, from Oklahoma to New Zealand to Navajo Nation to Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities worldwide, the hit television series Reservation Dogs has been embraced for the hilarious and heartfelt characters, storylines, and communities it represents. I am extremely excited to be here today with the showrunner and creator, Sterling Harjo, lead stars Devery Jacobs and Defera Wunatai. I would like to pass it over to you guys to do a quick intro. If you want to start off, Sterling.
My name is Sterling Harjo. I am a filmmaker and creator of Reservation Dogs, and I'm zooming in from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Ani Bojo Defera Musquadas and Indigneous, or actually Ani Bojo Defera Musquadas, Wunatai and Indigneous. My name is Defera Wunatai. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, with family residing in Treaty 9, Big Trout Lake.
Sego sa wagwego, dano wat ko numerado, kawanahile Devery Jacobs yojats, gahnawagi ni dewageno, dano zitgardundo, gadu aderdundo genagire. My name is Kawanahirde Devery Jacobs. I am from Kahnawake Mohawk territory, but now I reside in Aderdundo or Zitgardundo, now known as Toronto. And for the description you said for folks who are visually impaired, I am wearing some beaded earrings and I am sitting on a couch with some pillows and I have some books and artwork behind me. And I'm calling in from my living room.
Thanks for that, Devery. I totally forgot as well. Jamie Lee again. I am wearing a J.O. Kuma t-shirt. There's a window behind me with a curtain and a shelf. I'm fair-skinned with dark brown hair and brown glasses.
I have sunglasses on because I don't know where my regular glasses are and I can't see without glasses. So I'm wearing sunglasses and a really cool hat.
I have no sunglasses. I wish I did. Sterling's making younger breaks right now. I'm in my mother's room with a baby crib behind me and purple walls. Yes, that's all. Oh, and I'm wearing a Turtle Island University t-shirt sweater, which is from Paulina's cousins.
Oh, ever cool. It kind of matches the wall in the background.
Kind of does.
It's true. It all goes together.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Paulina.
Happy birthday, Paulina.
Happy birthday, Paulina. So exciting. All right, let's hop into it. Let's just dive right into some of these questions. I absolutely love Reservation Dogs. So thrilled about it. The relatability of the characters in Reservation Dogs, surpasses borders and connects and has like a connectable characters for Indigenous people of any age. Like the show depicts characters that represent members of communities wholeheartedly and heartwarmingly. Like Cheese reminds me of my little brother when he was a kid, and Willie Jack reminds Bliss of her cousin. We see ourselves and our families in this show, and like laughing is my absolute favorite thing to do. And I know I'm not alone when I say that Reservation Dogs is a television series I've been waiting my entire life for. What parts of yourself and your community did you bring into the show, Sterling?
Well, there's so many things. It's funny because it's not based on me, but there's so many things within each character and each episode, honestly, that comes from my life. You probably haven't seen, you're probably not all the way up to date in Canada, right? So I shouldn't give spoilers. But I will say I had a friend we called Cheese, and Devery has an episode where she's with a coach, and there's a lot of things that are based on a coach that coaches that I knew.
Nice sunglasses.
Yeah.
I'm not shocking.
there's bits of me in a lot of it. But it's not just me. It's also just stories that I remember growing up. And like, you know, like I feel like I had this bank vault full of stories that I was just always throughout my whole life going, man, if there was a Native show, it'd be cool to have that in it, you know? And through my career, I've had the blessing of like being able to travel to lots of different Native communities. So I've collected stories everywhere, you know, just like here, you know, like, or just observe things, you know, and even in Canada, through imagineNATIVE and through kind of, you know, part of me, I feel like I like came of age as a filmmaker at imagineNATIVE and watched that community grow. And so like, you know, and I've told people for years that it's my favorite film festival. But, you know, just hearing stories and then also bringing the writers in and having them put parts of their lives into the characters and the stories, you know, that was very key. And, you know, there's a lot more to go. There's a lot more story to tell. And I'm very excited to have season 2 so we can, it feels like, you know, we had to ease people into this world because there's never been a show really depicting kind of reservation life like this, you know? So there's a rhythm to our humor. There's a rhythm to our stories. And sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're funny. And I want them to be all of that. And so I think that we're kind of easing people into those waters. And season 2, I can't wait to go really crazy.
I really look forward to that for sure. And this will be airing during imagineNATIVE, so everyone will be caught up with the episodes by that point.
Awesome.
So feel free to, you know, drop any
so
spoilers.
For instance, like I was gonna say, like there's a episode that just was released here in the States, hunting. I mean, that's me and my dad, you know, like hunting. And we used to hunt across the dirt road from my house. I lived in a house that was Indian housing that looks just like the houses that the characters live in, except ours was in the country. I believe the Creek Nation or Seminole Nation built that house. Like my parents paid down for like, I think there's like 2 acres of land, and we built a house out there. But you know, and it's a home that I'm very familiar with, you know, the layout of those homes, you know, like if you grew up around them. And we used to cross the dirt road from my house and go hunting. And I always thought it was just our land, you know, like this is all our land. We can just go hunt anywhere, you know. And then my dad, as I grew older, explained like, no, like Texas ranchers own this land, you know. Hopefully the statute of limitations is over and we won't get sued by Texas ranchers. But like, you know, what's crazy is, so we used to go hunt over there and like, we used to talk about that. And then, you know, it's like, it was not about hunting always. My dad always said that. It's like, you know, hunting isn't about killing an animal. Hunting is about being in the woods, you know, being alone by yourself. And in our case, it was about being together. And he and I would talk about all of our issues or things that were going on in life. And it was a way that we connected. And that's what happens in this episode. And also, I remember when I left, the first time I left home, because the show is about leaving home as well and our relationship to home. And I remember the first time I moved away, I told my dad, I was telling my dad bye, and he asked if I could drive. It was hunting season. And he asked if I could drop him down the dirt road so he could walk off into the woods and hunt. And it was just like this cinematic moment of like dropping my dad off and seeing him kind of disappear in the rearview mirror, going into this place where we hunted all the time. And so, you know, this episode was very much kind of in honor of that relationship with my dad. And, you know, sometimes, you know, like, dads get depicted as bad sometimes because some of our dads are, but also there's good dads in our communities. And I wanted to also represent that as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That sounds like a really, you know, touching story and a really great way to be bonding in those situations while still being able to share teachings around culture and like what it means to be hunting and to get to kill an animal and the blessing that animal is giving you, you know, in return. I'd love to hear from DeFaro about how parts of yourself and your community, you know, what did you bring into the show, into the character for Bear?
Honestly, I in a sense, I really wanted to try not to bring stuff from Canada or for my communities, only because I wanted to do it and learn off of Sterling and learn from people who are Muskogee, who are Creek, and be more accurate in the sense of, because this is who they are and this is the people we are representing, and we come from completely different communities. Like I keep on saying, I mean, I'm from Toronto, right, and thousands of miles apart. But to answer your question, I didn't really want to come with ideas before. I wanted to learn then and adapt that there, which I did, I hung up many times with Sterling, many locals. I got a chance to meet a lot of people, Indigenous and non, and that really kind of shaped my idea of who Bear was, and also spending trips with going by myself or with Paulina down to Okmulgee, just trying to just ride the streets to get a vibe what it's like and try to envision what it was like to grow up there, because again, I'm from a big city, so it's very different. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, totally. You got right into it with the method acting and got into the community and tried to
not method acting.
Sorry,
not that extreme.
Not that extreme. I ain't that cool yet, man. But no, not method acting. We're just trying to damn man, you may seem like I'm method acting. I'm not even trying to.
He hasn't read that book yet.
No, not at all. Oh shit.
And how about you, Devery? Did you take more of an approach like DeFaro did and kind of just dive into the character of Elora Danan and get to encapsulate that?
I think for me, it was a bit of a combination of both, bringing myself and experiences that I've had and grown up with, along with learning from Sterling about Oklahoma and the history of it and the history of your family and what that would mean for these characters and our upbringings as Elora and the rest of the Res Dogs. But since this is airing after all the episodes are released, specifically in episode 7, and also we touch on in the pilot, is the story of Daniel. And I think the story of Daniel is one that is close to all of us. While it's incredibly personal to Tasba Rose Chavez, who is the writer and director of that episode, it's personal to Sterling, and it's also personal to all of us who have experienced loss of community members, loss of family. Suicide is something that has crept really closely into my family, but luckily I still have my family members here with me. So there was so much of myself and my community that I brought to Elora Danan in sharing that experience. And I know that it's something that affects all of our communities, whether we're north of this fictitious border or south. But it's so personal. This whole project is just so incredibly personal. Even if I'm an actor playing a character, it's so much more than that. We've all left all of our cards on the table and left pieces of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'd like to add, exactly what Devery's saying. I mean, I didn't have to bring so much to the table, or really any, because they're already there. Mm-hmm. the writers really already wrote what it would be, what we were supposed to do in a sense. You know what I'm trying to say? It's everything, like you said, all the cards were laid out for us. You know what I mean? We just really had to pick the right ones, I guess, if you want to put that in that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Definitely.
the beauty of acting on an Indigenous led and Indigenous driven series is having that understanding, not having to, get into deep explanation as to why a person feels this way or why this emotion would bring this up, just having the lived experience as Indigenous people to really be able to soak that in and be able to share that from a personal and a really deep place. I feel like you set me up perfectly for the next question, Devery. Reservation Dogs and a lot of your work, Sterling, faces a lot of tragedy that has happened in Native people's experience, while still honoring and uplifting the laughter and humor that our communities carry, not only throughout our toughest times, but just all the time, tackling the subjects of collective grief that happens when we lose a community member and highlighting it from a youth perspective is such an important thing to do, and an important platform that it's on, where so many youth and so many Native kids especially are going to see this and let them know that they're not alone in that experience, that this is something that is universal, across Indigenous communities. Reservation Dogs is a show that every Native kid needed growing up when they were younger, and now young Native kids have have. How do you think a show like Reservation changed your childhood and adolescence if it were to have aired when we were all growing up? I'll start with you, Sterling.
It would have been everything. I mean, like, I had to find ways to identify with all the movies and media that I saw, you know, and sometimes that was harder than others. But I mean, like, more so, I don't write everyone back that messages me, right, about this show. But I find myself writing people that are thanking me because they know what's coming and they know Daniel's experience and they know what it feels like to lose somebody in a community. And that doesn't mean we're not funny. That doesn't mean we're not beautiful. That doesn't mean we don't have ceremony. That doesn't mean we're not strong. But we've all faced that, and it makes you weak. And to have young people writing me every day, literally, I was talking to someone an hour ago, every day, saying they lost someone and they haven't known how to face that. They haven't known how to process that. They haven't known how to, you know, get up every day, stuff like that. You know, like I hear stuff like that all the time. Like, and that's the stuff that I engage with, because to me, this show, yes, it's about community. Yes, it's about these kids, but it's really about Daniel. And it's about the people that we lose in our community. And it's about the people that slip by. And sometimes there's nothing we could have done to change it. We're on this planet and there's so many different experiences that we face. And sometimes, you know, an experience or more than one experience sends us in a path that, you know, ends in tragedy. But as Native people, we've always faced tragedy as a community. We've always faced it together. We've always pushed our way through that sadness. And a lot of times we did that through humor. And to me, that's what this show is about. It's about these kids facing this tragedy, pushing their way through it through humor and through whatever wacky ideas they have about getting out of town or how they're gonna make money. And that's what it's about to me. And there was never a show like that growing up. First of all, I never even saw natives in a show, you know, like much less something like this, where we're talking about issues that not everyone would think to talk about, you know? And I was like, I almost like cried the other day. I was like being interviewed by Vincent Schilling on, I think, on his
Indian Country Media Today.
And it was on a Zoom. And like at the end, he just said like, I just want you to know, it was like off record. He's like, I just want you to know, like, you're saving people's lives. Like kids get to see themselves for the first time. And, you know, I've said that myself. I've thought it, I've heard it, but like, just to like be in the middle of an interview and in the storm of what having a popular show is, being in that storm and having everyone talking about it and then having someone's boil it back down to what it's about, which is like letting kids feel seen. And picturing myself as a young Native person, being able to see myself for the first time in a show. I mean, that like is, you know, I don't care, you know, it's like, that's it. Like we did that. And that's what I love. And that's what I'll always love the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's a really important show, and boiling it down to that core and that like that piece, that it is a life-saving thing to have on television for this to be accessible for any Native kid to watch. Like I was like forwarding it off to all my cousins, sending them my Disney link, like, oh, watch this. You need to see Reservation Dogs, like get on board. I'd love to hear, you know, the same question about this, like how would it been for you to grow up and have a show like this at your access, Devery? To
echo what Sterling said, it would have been everything. I think through this experience and it getting the exposure that it has, and I've mentioned to a few people that it feels a little bit like whiplash, because I've always known that Ngwehue were funny. I've always known that we were hilarious and had like such great stories and all of this. And I guess for my career and my life, I've been fighting to have our stories be out there and for it to happen and for it to be received by so many people and have such outpour and love and support for Indigenous kids. And it's everything that I've been fighting for. And it's also like a little jarring, like whiplash, because everything that I was told about myself growing up and being in the industry and trying to work in it and not finding obviously success on this scale, I was told to do away with my Resi accent because it specified me too much. Or I was told like all of the like Resi-isms that I had about me were like, the industry tried to strip away from me. And now all of those things are exactly why we're being celebrated and are the things that make our community so beautiful. And it's just like, it's such a jarring difference. And it's also, I feel like had we had a show like this when I was young and growing up, that I wouldn't have been told all those things by the industry before, that it would have been accepted and it would have been thought of to be like, I wouldn't have to be alone in being proud of who I am and where I come from in the industry. It would have been surrounded by me. And the fact that young people get to grow up with that surrounded by them is like everything, and is why I'm doing this.
Yeah, I love it. It's so important. I mean, I couldn't honestly say how many times I love Reservation Dogs for you guys to, I mean, understand like how deep it is in my heart and soul. Like it's my favorite TV show. There, I said it. Sorry, every other TV show, but it's the reality. And Defaro, what about you? I know like coming from different generations also and experiencing different content, different television, different things that we're able to have access to. We've never seen anything even remotely like Reservation Dogs on this scale. So like, what do you feel like it would have been for you if you had this TV show as a child?
It's crazy because growing up, I keep on saying this, but it's true. Growing up in a city like this, being Indigenous, it's very easy for you to lose your culture or lose being in touch, right? And growing up, I have never felt like everyone else in the sense, color-wise, traditionals, when I'm going over to my grandparents and my father's family-wise. I never felt a community in Toronto, ever. Really, the only time I have is when I found my Indigenous communities all across Toronto, but I never found it growing up because I was never interacting with a lot of Indigenous people. A lot of Indigenous youth like myself growing up in Toronto, and I feel like in that response, it made me relate to other cultures, other communities, but not my own. And I feel like if I had a show like this, I would have found it sooner. I really would have. And it's depressing as fuck to say that, but it's true. I mean, I thought about this myself for a very long time. I thought this question, I've been hearing this question a lot. Like, what would it have been like for you to grow up on something like this, right? And of course, it'd be different from for each generation if to find out something like that. Like, for example, my grandfather would always show me any Indigenous artist out there. I was exposed to all Indigenous music, folk music, rock music, everything in between, traditional and everything. And that connected me very much to and opened my mind up a lot more to be like, oh, we can actually do a lot of cool shit. You know what I mean? I'd never seen it. I mean, of course, you see stuff like Smoke Signals and Dance Me Outside, and I grew up on those and cherished those. But it was nothing on a scale like this. It was nothing on a big screen. I couldn't walk into a movie theater and see a person who looked like me, skin color like me, traditions like me. You know what I mean? And that really does take a toll. I thought, I've been thinking about it more and more, and it does, so I am happy that people are seeing this, because people like me who live in a city who have no idea who their culture is, or who didn't know who their culture was, can see this. And of course, we have very different traditions from people who are from Muskogee nations and every nation down south, but yet there are similarities, and there are laughter in all our communities, and people could see that. So, man, I always say this, but if that answers your question, I don't know if I meant, but if it is, just like, yeah, that's it. That's my answer.
Yeah, totally. That definitely answers it. And like, as Indigenous people, we've always known our entire lives, like some of the most talented people we've ever interacted with are sitting in our dinner table with us. The funniest people, the best painters, the most creative artists, people with the stories, people with the ability to tell stories, like just so captivating, that could be literally about nothing, but all of a sudden has you sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for, the climax of the story to hit. I'd like to hear about what it was like, and like a little bit more elaborating on being on a set that was all Indigenous creatives. Like, this is a a newer type of thing in the industry, and it's something that's not going to go away. Capacity building is clearly like what we do, not just in our film, but as community members, always making sure that we're passing on our knowledge and sharing it with future generations so they're able to survive and thrive. And it's really great to see, you know, so many talented directors, Black Horse Low, Sydney Freeland, Tasva, Taika, Sterling, like all of these powerhouse creatives working together on something so cool. As an actor, what is it like to be on a show that, or a project that's led fully by an Indigenous team, opposed to other experiences you may have had in the industry? And I'll pass that to Devry.
I think for me, it was unlike anything I had experienced. I, for a long time, was feeling really isolated in the film industry because there were no Indigenous folks around me. But I didn't even really clue into that. I hadn't thought that indigeneity and creating film and television could coexist together. And I take my hat off to Sterling because he seriously puts his money where his mouth is. He says that he wants to promote Indigenous storytelling and has involved more Indigenous cast and writers and directors and crew members in almost every department that I've ever encountered and didn't even know was possible. I really thought that they were mutually exclusive, and to see that there could be an industry that involves all of us in all departments was really uplifting. And I think it created an environment that we knew we had each other's backs. We knew that we created this space where we were able to share everything, where we were able to bring our work and didn't have to protect it from anyone or anything like that. It was such a beautiful space. And if anybody followed Sterling on Instagram during the filming, knew just how good of a time we had.
It was not fake either. That was how it was every day.
How it was, exactly. Gosh. I'll just hop into it.
Yeah, totally. Jump on.
Well, to really answer your question, I want to keep this short, but this is the perfect way to put it. I mean, we shot the first episode in 5 days, and I always say this, but in that 5 days, we became a family. You know what I mean? Like everybody on set, people we just met within those 5 days. I'm talking about the crew members, because with us, with the cast, we've been on Zoom calls a few times. We got a chance to interact with each other during social media. We got a chance to do table reads for the first few times together in person, but on set, it was magical. This is the best way to put it. It was magical. I keep on saying it, but 5 days we shot that first episode, and in 5 days, those people are my family members, you know, and that kind of shows you what it's like, in my eyes, what it was like to work with an Indigenous led crew and cast. You know, it was a community. It was a home away from home, you know, and it was a home away from home, but a second home. You know what I mean? It was like that. And also, really, what I want to bring up is Sterling. Thank you very much, bro. Like, even now, I'm saying thank you for just, you know, casting me and stuff like this. I'm saying thank you for the years you've been doing this shit, and people have been denying, you know, years prior to Reservation Dogs and Rutherford Falls and stuff, and more into when Hollywood started accepting Indigenous stories. You know, you were very there before that, you know, getting the shit, you know, getting nothing in the end, and you pushed through all of that, and that's what motivates me too, is seeing that people have been telling you no for a very long time, and you probably even knew going into this that, you know, seeing cinema, that it was not like that. It was not Indigenous led, or they didn't even give a shit, you know. But you still pushed through all of that, and you had a vision you went with, you know, and that was like, that's inspiring, man. That's inspiring as fuck, bro. I don't even know what to tell you. You know?
It truly,
but it's true though. But it's true. You know, like it really is true. You know, like you were there, like everyone else, like Black Horse, like Sydney, all of them. Everyone has been doing this stuff. Look at 1491 stuff. You know what I mean? They've been doing it from scratch in the beginning. You could see so many references from Res Dogs into. I was rewatching a bunch of 1491 stuff. I was like, didn't we just shoot that? Like, isn't that just
my favorite reference was the man moon.
Oh yeah,
he was on his man moon.
Yeah. There's another. You know, if you think, speaking of references, like, you know, you can look up like Goodnight Irene, my short film that played at imagineNATIVE and played Sundance back in the day. And it's basically episode 2. It all takes place at the IHS clinic, and Casey's in it, and Casey plays a woman named Irene, you know. and John Proudstar's in it, and like,
yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Nice.
day in the life of IHS.
I could really feel what you're saying, Defaro, from the behind the scenes photo shared online to like the obvious chemistry on screen between Alora Dannon, Bear, Willie, Jack, and Cheese. The gang of Res Dogs, like the audience has fallen in love with the community and the family that's been created here. And I know I'm not speaking alone when we're so excited that there is a season 2 coming along. I wanted to ask how your comedy experience, putting yourself out there and performing with the 1491s, prepared you to create a comedy series, Sterling?
I think like making the 1491s videos, what was great is I was making dramas mainly in my films, but I always had this like comedic side to me. And I even had friends back home that would see my films and be like, when are you going to make a comedy, man? You're funny. But I started this not knowing how to make anything. So dramas are honestly easier to make. And so I started making dramas with some humor in them. But to really make comedy, I feel like I needed the practice. And so not like that it was planned, but to be able to make the 1491s videos, I learned how to shoot comedy and also how jokes work. And then we did a live show, which like helped with timing and like how to also like one big thing that helped was like, yeah, we want Indian humor and we want this to be native humor. We want natives to laugh first, but we also want other people outside of that to laugh. What do we need to do to also pull them in and invite them in to get it and figure out the rhythms? And that was all the 1491s, like that was all bombing in front of a crowd of white folks and going like, why didn't they think this was funny? The last white audience loved it, and then we're like, oh, because we gave them permission to laugh. Oh, because we came out like joking and kind of self-deprecation, like being self-deprecating and like kind of inviting them in to laugh with us, and it was like little stuff like that we just picked up and learned making the 1491. So this show couldn't have been made. Not only like, were 3 of us writers on the show, Dallas is in it. I mean, like, Ryan Redcorn shot the behind the scenes.
The behind the scenes.
Yeah. We couldn't do it without the 1491s because it really helped us like figure out the timing and all of that.
Yeah, and it's great. Like you create this wonderful group of people that you collaborate so well with in that sense. And then you're able to bring them with you onto this level when you're working on your network television show. Like, I think that's just so amazing. And
that's been my favorite thing, honestly, is just being able to, because like what you realize in this industry is it's about lack of opportunity. That's all it is. And I had people fight for me, right? Like Bird Running Water fought for me. Chris Fisher, who's a non-native guy, gave me, he donated his flight and hotel room to Bird Running Water back in the day and said, if you're working with any Indigenous filmmaker, I'd love to support them and bring them to the festival. I have a film playing there. I'll give my stuff to them. I don't need it. Brought me to the festival. First time I met with writers. It was how the Native programs Native Fellowship started because of that. Then like 15 years later, Chris Fisher also gives me my first TV directing gig, and he pushed for that and he had to fight for it. I know he did. And, that's just someone that cared. And it's like, all he needed to do was give me the opportunity and believed in me. And all I had to do was like give people the opportunity. Tasba, Black Horse, Sydney. I mean, like the other directors on the show, it's like they came in and I knew they could do all of this. Like they're talented. Like I knew that all they needed was the opportunity. And I just found myself in a position where I got to give them the opportunity. And obviously like it shows, like their episodes are amazing and people love the show. Tommy Pico, Bobby Wilson, other writers on the show. It's like, Tommy was a poet and but I also read a script that he wrote and it's like, just giving people this opportunity has been the best feeling. I could honestly retire tomorrow, even before season 2, which I won't, but I could retire tomorrow and feel fine, feel very happy with what happened,
Don't. Please.
Don't.
Please. Yeah, I mean, it's such amazing, the amount of talent that is brought onto the show. I have so many questions about what it's like to collaborate with all of the different directors and artists that I know we don't have time to cover completely. I mean, I've read about how you created the role for Bobby Lee, and it is perfect for him and so hilarious. And I'd like to ask Devery, what was it like to work so closely with Gary Farmer on the Uncle Brownie episode?
It was good. I mean, I've known Gary Farmer for a long time and obviously had watched all of his projects growing up. He's from Six Nations, so he's Haudenosaunee as well. And we already had an opportunity to work together on Blood Quantum, where we got to work closely. But it was wild to work with such a legend, My favorite scene though was when we like pulled the deer out of the trunk and then just like he got spattered. It was so nasty, but it was also a really good time.
I feel like I jumped back from the screen when that happened. I was like, just like
I don't think he had any idea what was going to be. I don't think he had any idea what was coming for him.
None of us did. It was like we had tested it on like a shirt at one point, and then I was like, is this okay to spray in someone's face? Like, all right, let's just go.
Oh, that is so hilarious. Like for decades, Native film and television creators have been building a path for future generations to walk on. And over the last, handful of decades, that path's been getting wider and wider, and it's turned into a road. I feel like now is the moment, like how does it feel to be leading a creative team on a show that is actually starting to pave that road down for future Indigenous television and film creators?
It's a lot of things. It's really beautiful. It feels really good. It's also very scary. Whenever you do something that is considered one of the first of its kind, you're going to have to, you're on the front line and, the arrows are coming and you have to protect yourself and you have to remember that, you're just a human and we're all just humans and we're trying to do this thing and we're doing it as long as you're doing it from a place that is truthful and from your heart. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Whatever changes happen because of it, that's out of your control. I'm hopeful that it changes everything. I'm happy that it'll change things. And that's what I want, but it's out of my control, And so all you can do is do what we all know that we did, was we told a story from our community about a group of friends that lost their friend through suicide. Something that we all deal with in all of our communities. We told that story and we told it truthfully. And we told it from a good place and in a good way. And that's all we can do. And just hope that people feel that too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think based on the response that I've seen from Reservation Dogs, that's felt. And you hit the mark on it. It's so unique and so unlike anything I've ever seen before. And also the most relatable show that I've ever been able to watch. So it's really, really special to so many people. And it just means the world truly to me and to my community. Devery, I know that you have to head out shortly, so I'd just like to ask if you have any current projects you're working on or anything that's upcoming. I mean, Reservation Dogs season 2, of course, but anything else that you would like to give a little shout out to?
I am working on a couple projects that I can't yet talk about. But you'll have to stay tuned. But I'm really, really excited to get into Res Dogs season 2. So happy that it's been greenlit. I was going to say something too on the conversation that we were just talking about, but
I mean, we'll be sure to continue to closely follow your career and watch what you have up and coming, because I'm excited on, anything you're working on. I've been following you for so long. I'm just like, oh, Devery, so exciting to see you on television and movies. And I mean, when I seen that you're on Reservation Dogs, I was just like, high five myself, like, yes, get it. It's very exciting. And DeFaro, what about you? Do you have any projects or things that you're currently working on that are exciting?
Yes, I'm working on a film. That's all I'm going to say.
Awesome. That's really super exciting.
I don't know what to say.
No, yeah, I get it. There's the rules. You can't let certain tidbits of information be released too soon. Don't want to get in trouble. And Sterling, I'd like to hear, a little bit more about the project that you have coming up, Resball. I'm really excited about that one as a basketball lover and, a native. It just sounds like it's right down my alley.
Yeah, it was that project was born out of a really beautiful sort of moment where I think that also expresses kind of our community as Indigenous filmmakers. But Sydney and I had been, it's such a small world, and it's such a small world as far as like native creators go and filmmakers that I don't think any of the execs knew this in LA. So we would all be talking about the one meeting that we all just got, and like, did you get it, or did you like that meeting, or was it a good meeting? And so Sydney and I were always in the same going for the same project and competing. And one day I was about to go into this meeting, and she said, "Hey, did you meet about Resball yet?" And I was like, "I'm actually walking in right now." And she goes, "It's a pretty cool job. Good luck, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Man, why don't we just write something together?" And she was like, "I'd be down." She's like, "You want to tell them that in the meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I had this amazing meeting, and I could tell they were stressed out because they were talking about how much they love Sydney and like also me. And it was like, I was like, "Well, just so you know, like we want to write a script together. We want to find something to collaborate on." And you could just feel this like sigh of relief. And, bam, we got the job to write this script together. And, it was always something that was going to be for Sydney to direct. It was her community. I was just there to kind of be a co-writer and help with story and stuff. And so we just collaborated, wrote the script together, and, LeBron James's company came on board and they're producing it, and Netflix and all of that is kind of history. And so, I get to just like be the cool writer that like hangs out, and I don't have to direct anything now. So like, I'll get to hang out and just see Sydney do her thing. So very exciting.
Sure, a sigh of relief after how much work with the Res Dogs.
Oh my God. I didn't know what a showrunner was until I was one, pretty much. And it's a tough job. It's a lot of work.
I can imagine. I mean, I wasn't super familiar with the showrunner until Sierra became one. And then I was like, okay, that's what a showrunner is. I get it now.
Like, and Sierra and I, I literally called her a lot. Like I called her once and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, should I be holding meetings or what? Like, it's like, that's how little I knew about what I was supposed to be doing, is I had to call Sierra and like ask her how to just like conduct myself.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, when you're in the situation, and it's just great to have that kind of support, and she's wonderful. So, I mean, she'd been able to, I'm sure, answer any of the questions that you had for her.
It's really beautiful. I mean, like, we've supported each other. We've helped each other out. And, I want to lead by example for younger generations. And that's how we work together. Like, that's how we do this. We don't do it by fighting each other and stealing jobs and backstabbing. We do it by supporting each other, pulling each other across finish lines. I mean, whenever season 2 was announced, she sent me a box of chocolates and some champagne. Like, it's all about love, and it's about like lifting each other up. And that's the way that I think native cinema and storytelling and TV and whatever, that's how it grows, with all of us doing it together.
Yeah. And I truly believe like the industry will get on board and be like, oh, look what the natives are doing. They got it. They have a system that works so well. Yeah. And it is coming from a place of heart. It's not coming up to overwork everybody to try to get the best results. It's coming from knowing your characters, knowing your team, becoming a family, and having community center and working out from there, and it really creates beautiful stuff. I mean, Reservation Dogs is an amazing show, and I'm just so happy that all of my little cousins get to grow up with this show, and it's going to change their lives. Just like if it would have been there for us, it would have changed the whole situation of, growing up and made things completely different. And it's such a pivotal time of change, and creating this show at this time, I feel, is so important and so needed. And I just like genuinely want to thank each and every person that was a part of it, because it means so much. My little dog's in the background just gurgling away. She agrees, little res dog. She's like, yeah, I'm a res dog too. Although she's not. I mean, I've lived with her in Toronto since I got her, but she'll get the res one day. Well, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to, come. I know you're all so busy, and Yeah, super appreciated. It's been such a great conversation. And I look forward to the next real life imagineNATIVE to get to meet you all in person and, chat about the projects that have been made since then. We'll know what Devery's up to and what DeFaro's up to, and we'll have all seen Res Dogs by that point. So it's just going to be, I know it's a bright future ahead. I truly believe that. And I feel like this has opened up a huge door for so many people, especially just to know that it's possible.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This has been really great. I love imagineNATIVE. Favorite festival.
We love you too, Sterling.
Right.
Take care, everybody.
Thank
Danse. Why, hello there. Do you know what excites me about Indigenous made films and television? It's not the fact that people will see the sacred greasiness of who we are. It's not the fact that you can finally see us on television frying up some delicious fry bread. It's not the fact that the world will finally see us stoically turning in slow motion. What I'm about to tell you is what I'm excited for.
That's right, Brett. Tell them.
I will. I'm excited that we can display our voices, our stories, the way that we want to. I'm excited to see authentic representation of who we are. I'm excited about the many opportunities our people will see. I am so excited to say we are here and we are not left in the past.